once it happened in a class, and I just didn't notice. And one of my students said, is that red light supposed to be on? I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, sorry. Welcome to part 2 of, that was a good place to stop, though, because we're talking about the play now. Yeah, no problems. I'm just thankful that I noticed. Where is Orestes at the beginning of the play? Why is he there? And where do they send him?
He's at Apollo's temple.
He's at Apollo's temple at Delphi. Why is he gone there?
Ask Apollo for help.
Ask Apollo, because remember, hello, Apollo, you're the one who told me to kill my mom. What's up with the Furies? No, help. And where does Apollo send him? Athens. We're going to get this cleared up in Athens. All right, I am at the wrong play. Oh, I remember why there's a flag there.
2 weeks ago, guys.
No, I put it there again this week because I wanted to take note of something in the first play. Clytemnestra, interestingly, the ghost of Clytemnestra comes. I can just picture her kind of kicking him. Wake up, you idiots! I gave you sacrifices, I gave you offerings. Seriously, he's running away. Get up. And I just wanted to note, because you might have thought this was a little odd. This is the priestess at the beginning. She goes in and sees it, and then she comes out and oh my goodness, you won't believe what's in there. I'm on my way to the vault. It's green with wreaths. And there at the navel stone, I see a man, like with the navel stone. And later on, they mention the navel stone again. I didn't bring a picture of it, but I saw the navel stone. It's still there. The Greeks considered Delphi to be the center of the earth. I like Marta's face. By whose standards? I realize that in a sphere, if there is a center to a sphere, I feel like it would be inside it. But no. Delphi was the center of the earth, and so they referred to it as the navel of the earth. Because your belly button is sort of in the middle.
Rectangle.
They weren't like flat earthers, right?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, it depends. Sometimes poetically they were. So Thomas wants to know if they were flat earthers. The Greeks knew that the earth was round. They had calculated the diameter of the earth to very close to what it really is. However, or the circumference, I'm sorry. But in poetic retellings, often there was the earth and then there was the river ocean, sort of like Achilles' shield. A representation with this river ocean. And somehow they just held both these beliefs at the same time and it was okay. It was the way it was.
They knew the earth was round and they'd calculated the circumference.
Then they have this...
for the fact that there was another continent on the other side of the earth. How did they know about, how did they think that they were just the only continent?
Yes, they thought they were the only continent.
So then did they just think the rest of it was just ocean?
Yeah. Even those of you who read the Divine Comedy with me remember, even though this was the 1200s, around the year 1300, so they didn't know a lot. They knew about, this was past Marco Polo time, but obviously they still thought that the vast majority of the globe was, and the majority of the globe is ocean, I realize this, but more than we know. And that in the Inferno, the only thing on the other side of the globe is, Mount Purgatory, if you remember. There's just... That's all the landmass there is. Anyway, now I don't remember why we're talking about. Oh, navel of the earth. Okay, so they believed that this was the belly button of the earth, and they actually had a stone there, and it was the navel. It was an Audi. It wasn't. I was thinking it sticks up though. Ooh. Okay, so. But they actually, so outdoors they have a stone there, but they moved the real one inside because they don't want it to get acid rain or people touching it or whatever. They don't want it to disintegrate. So there's a navel stone outside, and it's marked, this was the navel stone place. But inside the museum where he said she is, The navel stone is in there too. So this is why they're referring to the navel stone. And I got to make sure I know who's talking. Okay, Apollo. Apollo comes in and he says he's put them to sleep. He says, now look at these obscenities. I've caught them, beaten them down with sleep. They disgust me. These gray, ancient children, never touched by God, man, or beast. They range the bowels of the earth, the world of death, loathed by men and the gods who hold Olympus. All right? I hate them. We hate them. And he calls them ancient, those ancient children. Now, just in the next page, the Furies are waking up and they find Orestes is gone. And they have one of these where the chorus members talk to each other in quick succession. And sleep defeats me. I have lost the prey. You, child of Zeus, you, a common thief. And they're talking to Apollo. Young god, you have ridden down the powers, proud with age. You worship the suppliant, the godless man who tears his parents' heart, the matricide. You steal him away, and you, a god. Guilt both ways. Who can call it justice? Right? So again, they refer to themselves as the old gods. And Apollo is one of the young ones. Apollo says again to them, you revolt the gods, in line 190. Like, wait a minute, aren't they in the gods? The whole group of the gods? He says, you revolt the gods. And he means that you revolt the new gods, the young gods. So, do you remember from Edith Hamilton's mythology? And you know this from other sources too, I know. We have generations of gods, right? We have the Cronus, and Titans, and we have, you remember Zeus and his siblings. Zeus didn't get eaten, but his siblings were getting swallowed by Cronus because there was a prophecy that one of the children would be stronger and overthrow him. So he was like, I can fix this. Oh, yeah, and we wonder why they keep eating children.
Yeah.
The gods eat children.
Kind of made it okay.
Here's the first example.
Yeah.
Until Zeus escapes, by being hidden as a child and overthrows. So we have generational gods, right? Some of them are old. Some of them are ancient, the Titans and the Cronus generation. And then we have these siblings and children of Zeus. They're the newbies, right? They're the young ones. They're more reasonable. They're more rational. And think about what this whole trilogy has been about. What's happening to the house of Atreus?
Falling apart.
And why is it falling apart? What has been happening?
Families killing each other.
Okay, the family keeps killing each other. The family keeps killing each other, and everybody thinks they're justified. Right? So I have no justification for the Pelops being fed to the gods, all right? But Atreus thinks he's justified. Thyestes tried to steal my wife. I'm going to feed him his children. And then Agamemnon, I have to kill my daughter. I have to get the favorable. I'm going to look like an idiot. Plus, I promised that I would go help Menelaus. If anybody messes with Helen, I made a promise. It's justified. He comes home, Clytemnestra's like, I'm totally justified. He killed, yes. Everybody thinks they're their own gods. And they have their own moral code. And if you think about it, this is the code. This is kind of a poetic stretch, all right? This is the code of the old gods, the old ways. Imagine the world with no cities and no large groups of people together, all right? And you just live in homesteads with your extended family. And, the Logan homestead and the Johnson homestead I don't know. One day the Logans were out gathering blueberries, and somebody from the Johnson homestead was doing knife throwing practice. I don't know. And they killed, they killed one of the Logan clan. All right. The Logan clan feels totally justified, right, to go take out the next Johnson clan member that goes out, playing at the beach. And then after they do that, the Johnson clan is so going to take out. And so we get the Huckleberry Finn, those families, right? And they can't remember. They can't remember. And this, who's going to stop it in this situation? Where it's just your family homestead, their family homestead. You don't have any higher authority to appeal to. There's no city officials. There's no courthouse. What are you going to do? Where's it going to end?
Well, I guess destroyed the entire.
Okay, maybe when each.
Why would you go back and forth when, you just have one final climatic battle and just see who wipes out the other?
Also, my family's probably bigger than yours. So.
That's not a bad idea, but I don't know because. I'm using Huckleberry Finn as my standard for, family feuds here. But, they did have a pretty knockdown, drag-out fight at the end there when Buck, his friend, died. I don't know, maybe because it's easier to just take pot shots at people hiding behind bushes and trees and take them out one by one, and you don't have a lot of risk to yourself. This is a deep question, and I don't know the answer. Why don't we just all agree?
It's like 2-1 right this second. You put this thought in their heads.
If that ever happens, consider it. No. But if you don't have political officials to appeal to, you don't, there's no end, right? This is sort of the old system, right? And the Furies are in charge of this old system. You better watch who you take out. Because if you go taking out your family members, boom, we're going to get you. Limit it to the other family. Kill the other family. Don't kill your own family. This is sort of an ethic that's lacking. I feel like we all would agree this is lacking.
They lack in quite a few places.
Well, how did they just? Okay, so if so and so takes if another family takes my stuff, or my brother does something to their family, and we just go continue killing that family, how do they justify massacring an entire family? But it's you can go destroy that family, but you try to destroy your own family.
This is troubling. And so Apollo, thank you, Meredith. Apollo brings up something very, very parallel to that. So he's talking to the leader of the chorus of Furies, okay? The leader says, Lord Apollo, now it is your turn to listen. You are no mere accomplice in this crime. You did it all. All the guilt is yours. He says, no. How? Enlarge on that, and only that. She says, you commanded the guest to kill his mother. He answers, commanded him to avenge his father. What of it? And then you dared embrace him, fresh from bloodshed. Yes, I ordered him on to my house for purging. And we sped him on, and you revile us? Indeed, you're not fit to approach this house. And yet, we have our mission and our authority. You sound out your splendid power. Matricides, we drive them from their houses. And he says, and what of the wife who strikes her husband down? Their lovely answer, that murder would not destroy one's flesh and blood. But you're not related to your spouse, so it's not like killing family. And Apollo says, why, you disgrace, obliterate the bonds of Zeus and Hera, queen of brides. And the queen of love you'd throw to the winds at a word. Disgrace love, the source of mankind's nearest, dearest ties. Marriage of a man and wife is fate itself, stronger than oaths, and justice guards its life. This is parallel to what you're saying, Meredith, because you're saying, how is this wrong and that's okay? Apollo's saying, how is this wrong, killing your mother? It's not wrong to kill your husband. And Faye's like, yeah, we have no problem with that. They're not related. That's just out of our job. That is not in our job description. We haunt the ones who kill parents. We don't go after the ones who just kill spouses because we don't care.
Because it's just
That's fine.
your spouse.
It's not like you like really love them or anything like that.
So Orestes goes to Athena, right? He goes to Athens and he clings to the statue of Athena. And there's this, I read this again this weekend, and it struck me as being something that St. Paul or the church fathers would use in their writings. He calls out to Athena and he says, where are you? Are you off on the battlefield? Are you off? What are you doing? Are you off with remember when Poseidon was off with the Ethiopians during the Iliad and he was just off on vacation? Basically, are you off on vacation? Are you off on a trip? I hope you can hear me. And it was just kind of sad. It struck me as very sad that I hope my gods can hear me. Are you busy? But this was Orestes. And Orestes says, and I just going to throw this out there because I don't think I fully understand this line yet. Maybe you guys are going to enlighten me. The Furies are trying to force Orestes away from his position there, gripping the idol. And he says, I have suffered into truth. Well, I know the countless arts of purging, where to speak, where silence is the rule. In this ordeal, a compelling master urges me to speak. He says, I have suffered into truth, and this was my flag. In the first play Agamemnon, the chorus says, Zeus has led us on to know, the helmsman lays it down as law, that we must suffer into truth. I've been thinking about that. So maybe it's because Christmas coming and we're thinking of the incarnation, and Easter is the flip side of Christmas, right? When it said that Jesus was made perfect through suffering, we're told in the New Testament that suffering perfected him, although he was perfect. So what does that even mean? He was made perfect through suffering? That his job was made complete through suffering? That we suffer unto truth. Do you think there's some things maybe we just don't ever learn until we suffer? I wonder if Orestes, there's just certain things that he would never know or learn, or he wouldn't be the kind of person he's going to go on to be without the suffering that came from his family. But yet, his household has suffered for generations, and they didn't seem to learn in much truth.
They did not seem to learn their lesson at all.
No. I don't know. I'll have to think on that further. But the chorus says at the beginning, we must suffer unto truth. Zeus teaches us this. And now the Orestes claims that he has suffered unto truth. Okay. I asked you in the questions, what does Orestes fully admit to having done, and what does he not admit? What does he say? Yes, I did it. What?
He said, yeah, I killed my mother.
I killed my mother. I did it. I'm not even trying to pretend I didn't kill my mother. What does he not admit? There isn't one particular line here, but it's just a general. And this is not as hard as it sounds.
There's one part. I don't know if it was when Apollo was talking to the gods or not. Where they said that he killed whatever made Orestes kill his mother.
Yes. Apollo comes to testify, basically as a witness, yes. He admits it. But he won't admit what? It's easier than you're thinking it is. He won't admit that he's guilty of wrongdoing. It's two different things, right? Did you do it? That's one question. Is it wrong? That's really another question. And so, you take someone to trial, you got to prove both of them, right? If you can prove they did it, but there were extenuating circumstances that it wasn't a wrong thing, there's no law against that. Or he didn't know there was a law, right? It's a separate thing. He hasn't had the best. Plus, I was thinking about this. I mentioned this last week or the week before. I think it was last week when I was telling you to brainstorm about your papers. He was shunted aside and then raised elsewhere, knowing why. I mean, to grow up in another household, yeah, because mom killed dad, and now I have to live with these strangers, and I don't get to live at home and be with my sister, and I don't know what that does to a person psychologically. But nonetheless, I don't think that's the reason he thinks it's okay. He thinks it's okay.
He lived by his parents, both of his parents.
He lives by that, but he also, don't ever forget, Apollo told him to do this. What were you going to say, Thomas?
I was just wondering how old he was when he left, because she could not even feel like his mother if he was raised.
Yeah, if he's been gone a really long time and he doesn't even remember, that's a good point. There's nowhere told us, I don't think, how much does he remember of living at home with his mother, and how much have stories affected him. Okay, we already answered this. Why did the Furies not attack Clytemnestra after she killed Agamemnon? Because it's not wrong, or it's not our job, because there weren't blood relations. So I'm trying to decide if I want to read that starting there or. The Furies say this. So the center holds. We're the skilled, the masterful. We the great fulfillers, memories of grief. We awesome spirits, stern, unappeasable to man, disgraced, degraded, drive our powers through, banished far from God to a sunless, torchlit dusk. We drive men through their rugged passage, blinded dead, and those who see by day. And so it holds. Our ancient power still holds. We are not without our pride. Though beneath the earth our strict battalions form their lines, grouping through the mist and sun-starved night. Have you guys ever read The Silver Chair? Mm-hmm. It reminds me of, it's one of the Chronicles of Narnia. There's an underground kingdom. It reminds me of the forces of the underground kingdom in The Silver Chair. So, Athena comes and she comes back from her trip, wherever it was, this guy begging for mercy and these Furies. And she says, "Who are you? I address you all as one. You, the stranger seated at my idol, and you, like no one born of the sown seed, no goddess watched by the gods, no mortal either, not to judge by your look at least, your features. Wait, I call my neighbors into question. They've done nothing wrong. It offends the rights. It violates tradition." All right? She says she's going to call neighbors. She's going to get testimony about this. I don't know who these people are. If I don't, it offends the rights. It violates tradition. Here in Athens, we do things differently. People have rights. They're guilty. They're innocent until proven guilty. You don't know what the story is with all these, but we're going to hear it. And the leader of the Furies says, "You will learn it all, young daughter of Zeus." Cut to a few words. "We are the everlasting children of the night. Deep in the halls of earth, they call us curses." And so she begins to question them. He murdered his mother, called that murder just. Athena says, and nothing forced him on. No fear of someone's anger, which of course we know there was, because Apollo said he was going to do all that nasty stuff to him if he didn't do it. But they say, what spur could force a man to kill his mother? She says, 2 sides are here. Only half is heard. I like Athena. There's 2 sides to every story. I haven't heard his story yet. They said, but the oath, he will neither take the oath nor give it. No, his will is set. And she says to them, and you are set on the name of justice rather than the act. You want to appear just. You want to be called just, don't you? But I feel like we need to look at this particular situation and find out. Athena's coming across as very level-headed here, I feel. They say, now, teach us. You have a genius for refinements. And she says, injustice, I mean, should never triumph thanks to oaths. So you swear you did something or swear you didn't do something. There's 2 sides here. Let's dig deeper. So they ask, Orestes gets to give his share, his side. And she says, too large a matter, some may think, for mortal men to judge. But by all rights, not even I should decide a case of murder. Murder whets the passions. Oh, isn't that like the history of the House of Atreus? Murder whets the passions. Above all, the rights have tamed your wildness. A suppliant cleansed, you bring my house no harm. If you are innocent, I'd adopt you for my city. She says this to Orestes. And then she turns to the Furies and she says, but they too have their destiny. Hard to dismiss. And if they fail to win their day in court, how it will spread, the venom of their pride. Plague everlasting blights our land, our future. So it stands a crisis either way. You, Orestes, I don't feel, you don't seem to think you've done anything wrong, and you make a good case, but you also have a case. What are we going to do? What do?
They choose 11 men from Athens to decide.
They take it to court, and they call a jury. I will appoint the judges of manslaughter, swear them in, and found a tribunal here for all time to come. For all time to come. You know what? We do it differently in Athens. Wow, how about if you give your side, the Johnson clan gives their side, and the Logan clan gives their side. I realize you're part of the Logan clan too, but. And we let a jury of their peers decide. And they all agree to accept the verdict. And then it's done. You can't keep doing it because then there's new fresh charges. We're all going to come here and we're all going to agree. And I mean, I know this, you think I've lost my mind. It's like, yeah, duh, Mrs. Ferguson, it's called the courts. But this is the thing. Athens has a new way to offer. The new young gods have a new way to offer. We can end this. We can end this curse. You know, Agamemnon didn't end the curse, and Clytemnestra didn't end the curse, and Orestes didn't end the curse. But there is a way to end the curse. Once and for all. Let's do things through social, political channels. Some people find this like, really? That's going to be your solution? It's sort of a big thing. Because think about the options. If we don't agree to live together in society and agree that certain rules are going to be the way they're going to be, and agree that if we break the rules, that we will stand accountable for them, then what's the solution? It's like the Johnson-Logan feud, which is tragic over many generations. It's tragic. Okay, so you're going to love this.
And also I'm adopted.
You know what?
So we're not, it's not our
I'm pretty sure we're all good. There's no longer a problem.
Okay, this is true. This is true. So, I want to throw one more thing out there for this court. Apollo who has come to testify at the trial. Yes, I did tell him to do it. Yes, I have purged him of his blood guilt. He is a murderer, but I have come to him, and he has gone through the purification rites, and he is no longer a murderer. But he talks to the Furies. He says, you grotesque, loathsome, the gods detest you. He says it again. Zeus can break chains. We've cures for that. Countless ingenious ways to set us free. But once the dust drinks down a man's blood, he's gone once for all. No rising back. No spell sung over the grave can sing him back. Not even Father can. Though all things else he can overturn and never strain for breath. I want to point out something. On the next page, after what we're about to discuss is over, this trial is over, Athena says, now and forevermore, for Aegeus' people, this will be the court where judges reign. This is the crag of Ares. What do we call the crag of Ares? What do they call it in the New Testament? The hill of Ares. Mars Hill, some translations call it. It's the Areopagus. St. Paul stood there and told them, there is a resurrection.
Oh my goodness.
After this play says, once the dust drinks down a man's blood, he's gone. Not even Father can bring him back. And St. Paul came there and he said, oh, yes, he can. He can. Isn't that cool? I love it. I love it. So Apollo gets up at the Areopagus here, the newly formed court of Athens, and he gives a very strange defense for the fact that Orestes is innocent of shedding kindred blood. Did any of you catch it? Yeah, I know.
I thought it was the right. I thought that was
What?
I thought that was what he was arguing, the right.
No. He says there is a reason. He said, actually, Orestes is not related to Clytemnestra. I know. You're going to love this.
They're not related.
Get ready to roll your eyes.
And do the Furies like make up for all their horrible things they've done?
No, they don't, kind of, but
Orestes is like.
here, no, listen. Apollo. Even, okay, if it makes you feel any better, even adults roll their eyes like, seriously? This is Aeschylus? This is your solution. Here's the truth, I tell you. See how right I am. This is Apollo talking. The woman you call the mother of the child is not the parent. Just a nurse to the seed, the new sown seed that grows and swells inside her. The man is the source of life. Basically, the woman is just an oven.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
Women are an oven, but men are really the fathers. Women are just the oven that it bakes in. So that's why it's totally fine to kill your mother. Like, you can't chase him down. Clytemnestra is really... And then, I give you proof that all I say is true. The father can father forth without a mother. Here she stands, our living witness. Look, Athena.
Okay.
Child sprung full-blown from Olympian Zeus, never bred in the darkness of the womb, but such a stock no goddess could conceive. See? Now, this is kind of currying favor with Athena, obviously. Yeah, moms aren't important, because look, Athena doesn't have a mom. She's fine. She just has a dad. See, dads are all it, and moms are just ovens.
We should see how that works out.
Now, biologically, as far as they were concerned, this was a legitimate, sort of biological look at things. Not to us, obviously. That's why we're like, seriously, that's going to be your argument?
Can you imagine
That
if that actually,
moms don't contribute anything to the child, only
can you
dads.
imagine if that was an argument in court today?
No, that would not. That would not go well.
Imagine the
So,
protest for that.
Then right after that, there would be a lawsuit and a new law would be passed.
how does the trial turn out?
Orestes is declared innocent.
Orestes is acquitted. They send the jury off to deliberate, And Athena stands there and she's like, well, if there's a tie, I'm casting my vote now. I'm the tiebreaker, and I'm voting for Orestes.
Wait,
I think
there were
Orestes is
11
innocent.
people in the jury.
Yeah, I guess there were. Maybe she's. How does that work?
Maybe one of them doesn't vote, or he votes for 2 people.
Anyway, she comes back and she says it's a tie, and she says maybe math is not a strong suit.
I have an answer.
Yes.
She made 11 people.
There was a
but one
ba-
of them
there was-
came out sick.
There was a baby victim in one of the judges' brains. and he voted right.
Hold on, because there was a footnote. I was looking at this, and there was something about the lots are equal. The question of the number of the jurors and the nature of their verdict is vexed indeed. Some have argued that their number is uneven, that they vote 6-5 in favor of the Furies, and that Athena casts her lot for Orestes, simultaneously creating the tie which her vote is designed to break. So apparently, yeah, other people have noticed this too. We don't know. You know what?
Yeah, so it's rigged.
You're being difficult.
It's just rigged then.
Yeah.
You need to just roll with it.
Helena won't roll.
Orestes is acquitted. But we have a problem. And Athena casts the deciding vote. Problem being, the Furies are ticked off, just shouting mad. All right?
Well, I mean, I would be too if I lost a dumb case like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I would be like, wait, but we won. It was 6-5.
There's
How-
no
how
reason.
did you guys win? Excuse me?
So,
Thomas part of a jury in ancient Greece.
I know, I knew this was going to happen.
That's why you don't get in trouble.
This is
in
gonna
ancient
happen.
Greece.
11 people?
They just don't do anything.
Let it go. Deep breath, let it go. All right? The Furies,
I'll vote on this.
legitimately or not, even tie or not, the Furies are angry and they threaten. We're going to blight your land. We're just going to wither up your crops, dry up the rain. You guys are going to suffer. And Athena spends, the last couple hundred lines of the play talking them down off the ledge. You don't want to do that. No, you don't want to do that. And finally, and this is my last question, what new tasks does she offer? She says, oh yes, go ahead. Do it. Say it.
She gives them a position as protectors of Athens or something.
Yes. Behold my land, what blessings Fury kindly, gladly bring to pass. I am in my glory. She says, I love persuasion. She persuades them. You know what? I'll give you some power. I'll make it so that every new household has to come and sacrifice to you in your sacred grove. I'll make it so no farms, no crops are blessed without your consent. We're going to change your name because the whole Fury thing, that's bad PR. We're going to call you the Eumenides, the kindly ones. Now, you're going to live in a pit under the earth, apparently, still. Sorry about that. You live in a pit under the earth because this is what you do. But we're actually going to honor you here. So, but it's sort of a nebulous, what if they stop honoring them? Will the Furies break out of the ground and come for them? Is this Athena's made it cut a deal with the Furies, basically. But is that deal contingent on people continuing to honor them? And what if somebody reneges on the deal? What happens then?
It's not, because nothing bad's happened yet.
I'm pretty sure that if I was an immortal being and just because the people after the first generation stopped doing it, I would be pretty mad.
I would too.
Yes. And I will blight your crops and toast your fields. And I have nothing else to add to that.
Well, good
So
thing you're not.
you see the solution? The whole politics thing is a good solution. It's pretty good. You may not like all the details, but the whole Johnson-Logan feud, we'll take it to court, and we'll get a jury to vote. Hopefully this time it will be, we'll be able to count, and maybe picking not an even number of jurors, except we do have 12 men on a jury, right? 12 Angry Men, the movie, the play about a jury deadlock. Anyway, it's called 12 Angry Men.
Wait,
Aren't there 12 people on a jury? I don't know. That's troubling. Shouldn't it be 13? No, because that'd be bad luck. 11? 15?
I learned, I was watching a Miss Marple movie
Wait,
about murder.
Yes.
And the jury has to go back, and this is in England, the jury has to go back and they talk over coffee and they all have to come to the same decision.
Yes, that's America
And she
too.
won't bend.
Oh yeah,
They're
this is
so
the famous. This is famous stories where there's one holdout in a jury.
I feel like not all of the juries sit like there at the same time, right? Like don't just like a couple take the cases.
Yeah.
What, in Athens?
No.
In today?
Yeah.
Yes, like they do. Yeah, no,
So
they
it's
do.
Not all 12 that are like
Yeah, like everyone's sitting there.
at one hearing or whatever.
No, you are.
Oh.
So I went. I had to do. I had to do. It was actually a child abuse, like a child molestation thing. It wasn't very pretty, and it was a 2-day trial. And no, we all sat there all day, and we had video testimony from the child. They didn't bring the child in court, and then they took us out for lunch, and we weren't supposed to talk about the trial to each other until we got back into deliberations. Yeah, I got on it. I was in this jury. And then it was in Cambridge, and they took us back, and we spent several hours till we went around the circle and voted just like in a movie. It was way cool. I'm sorry to say it that way. It's like this is the coolest thing ever. It's like I'm on a TV show. Yes.
My mom was on a
You say that like they should have bumped her. No.
I feel like my mind has been blown because like
I was on a jury, and we were there for 2 days. We heard evidence. We had to go home, and it wasn't a sequestered. It wasn't some big name case, but and we found him guilty. And when we did it, we knew that we may be ruining this man's life if he didn't do it. It was very sobering. This is what we are doing in this room. We are deciding whether or not this man is going to have to register as a sex offender, and we are deciding. But it was, we even went through, like, we had a layout of the building, the house, because one of the child said she saw something through a door, and we were looking to see, is this accurate, the way the house is laid out? We took it very seriously. Anyway, I have to go on. I wanted to point out that this agreement is tenuous, okay? As long as we all do what's expected of us, and we pay tribute to the Eumenides, and we're willing to submit to the courts, but something could easily throw that out of kilter. Do you know what I mean? Lack of piety to the Eumenides, or lack of willingness to accept the court decision, things like that. But the whole world is under a curse, like the curse of Atreus, isn't it? We have a curse. And our Savior brought us a salvation that's much better than Athena's salvation. It's not based on if we keep doing the right things, that things don't get out of kilter. And it's not until Paul comes and preaches there on that hill that, yes, the Father can bring the dead back. That's what I'm here to preach, the resurrection. That we find a way out of the curse. But Aeschylus tried, and Athens tried, and it wasn't a bad solution by pagan standards, that we can put an end to these blood feuds and curses by submitting to the city, by submitting to society, and having orderly ways to work our way through these problems, instead of just going and killing the person who killed the person that you didn't want to be killed until they come and kill you, or driving them to insanity because they did something you didn't like. But those powers are still there. Those Eumenides are still under the ground in the pagan world. And, the junior high class was talking about the harrowing of hell. And I have more Protestants in that class, Protestants listening here, that don't have that tradition so much of the going and the harrowing of hell. I like to picture him harrowing the Furies. Like, that's done. That whole blood feud, that whole curse, that whole pagan world, I have overthrown it. I've cast it down. Anyway, with the time we have left, I asked you to brainstorm ideas as to whether or not Telemachus should have killed. I don't know why. I don't know why. Why did he turn into Telemachus?
Suddenly everyone realizes that maybe there's a
Just, I obviously I like Telemachus better than Orestes. No, this has nothing to do with Telemachus. Why should Orestes have killed Clytemnestra? And I asked you, first of all, to write down as many reasons as you can think of, for or against. Has everyone been able to do that? And come up with a fair list of reasons? Or if you haven't, and let's just be honest, if you haven't, do you feel like you could? Especially after having talked this over. You can use, she wasn't really his mom anyway. Apollo said she wasn't really, she's just an oven. If you want to go there. I do not care if you write this from a purely pagan perspective, from a Christian perspective, or from a mixed perspective. This is fine with me, okay? Bringing all different perspectives to bear. And then I also asked you to look at the arrangement. Do you remember how these papers work? There's 6 paragraphs. And I would like to, you don't have to turn back here. You know what I'm going to say already. You've all done these. In our introduction, we do things like inform them of the background. Does that mean you should tell the entire story of these 3 plays? Please do not. No, there's a wrong answer. But you might mention that there is a trilogy of plays by Aeschylus, and in it we see this story play out. All right, you don't give the whole history of the House of Atreus. You should be able to do this in a few 2 or 3 sentences. Just bare bones. All right. Also, draw your reader in. We sometimes do this by asking a question, challenging them to imagine something, bringing in a quote. Marta loves her quotes. She's the quote queen. And also, perhaps, stating things in a way, if we want to be sophisticated at this, that will persuade them from the get-go in our direction. So if I think Orestes, murder her. Bring her down. Take her out. When I tell the backstory, I might really emphasize how she viciously murdered her husband in the bath. Do you see? That's going to make me feel anti-Clytemnestra and pro-Orestes. On the other hand, if I think this was just wrong, I might emphasize the brutality. I might emphasize that 2 wrongs never make a right. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I might bring it out. Although generations have tried to bring an end to these murders, back and forth murders, none have ever been able to, and Clytemnestra was not able to either. Implying that Orestes is also not going to be able to. Do you see how I might skew my facts? Tina Olson, I remember one year we were doing this, and she said it's a little bit like lying. And I'm like, well, it is. I'm suppressing certain parts of the truth. It's not lying. But in a sense, it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm suppressing certain facts, and I'm releasing certain facts to make you already feel the direction I would like you to feel. And then we have 3 paragraphs giving 3 main reasons for why we believe what we believe, why we're arguing what we're arguing. And in each of those, we should have 3 supporting reasons. He shouldn't do it because murder is wrong. God says so in the 10 Commandments. It says no murderer shall inherit the kingdom of heaven, and murder never solves anything. Look at the whole history of Atreus. See, those would be 3 supporting reasons for murder is wrong. You guys, everybody understands. Okay, I don't want to leave you in the lurch, but I don't want to go on and on about something. We haven't done a lot of these in the junior high class. But we've done this. And then we have a paragraph called the refutation. Tell me 2 arguments that the other side might make. Some say he should kill Clytemnestra because she was such a mean, rotten mother and she sent him away to live with strangers. But I say, counter it. Then give another. And some others might argue this, but I say this. And then wrap it up in the final paragraph by restating why you think what you think. And also, remember when we did the Lost Tools of Writing and they had and to whom does this matter and why? And we ended up writing things like, this matters to Mrs. Ferguson because she made me write this paper. I actually got some of those. Or, this matters to murderers because they should not. So can we do that, but not say the words, this matters to? Do you understand? Like, this is sort of a more sophisticated way of doing it, like saying, just as in ancient times, today we have ongoing feuds and families that are burdened with generational wrongdoing. And how should we address that? Well, obviously, vengeance is not the way, but we have to come to some sort of better resolution. And that makes it seem like this topic matters.
Humanity, take note.
Yes. Do you see what I mean? Without saying, this matters to all of our court system today because, I don't know, I'm not even going to go on with that. Yes.
Honestly, I guess you could say something about like this should matter to all Christians because Christ would say murder, like hating your brother in your heart is just as bad
Yes.
as actually murdering.
So instead of saying this matters to all Christians, we might say, as Christians, we need to pay attention to. Do you see what I mean? And I am saying this matters to, but I'm not saying the words this matters to. Okay, I'm sorry. It is 12:46, but you gotta have me just a minute. Yes. No, was it important?
No.
It's a question?
It was not.
Okay. All right. So over break, I would like you to write this paper. If you have already jotted down all these ideas, this is probably not going to take you very long. And in fact, if you think about it, if you do it in the next week, you would still have days before Christmas. Do you see what I mean? Like you could do it in the next 5 days. No, you can email them to me or you can just save them for January. It is your choice. I don't mind. I also want you to read, and all we're reading is a play. And this play you can read in one sitting. That's it. Like you could go home tonight and you could read this play and you could be done. I'm done. And it is by our next playwright. Let me go through really quick on page 69. We have our new playwright, Sophocles. He was born in a suburb of Athens called Colonus. As a young man chosen to lead a chorus of boys at a celebration of the victory of Salamis. So he was a young man. He was a young boy when Salamis was fought. He wrote 123 plays.
Wow.
We only have 7 of them left. I know.
You should have preserved it better.
He was well known in Athens. He was elected general. He was treasurer. He was a member of the governing board of Athens. He beat Aeschylus in 468. It was his first place victory in the Dionysian.
Is this Escalate? Wait.
This is Sophocles on page 69. But we've been reading Aeschylus.
Gotcha.
Aeschylus is the author of what we've been, yeah.
I didn't want to.
Okay. He won 19 first prizes. He also introduced the mind-blowing third speaking actor on the stage. I know it. He wrote 3 plays about Oedipus. And I wrote on page 69, I have them, I'm going to read all 3. The first one he wrote is the last one we're going to read, Antigone. I know. The second one is the one we're going to read, Oedipus the King, or Oedipus Rex. And the last one's called Oedipus at Colonus. It was staged after his death. They were not all presented at the same festival. They do not comprise a trilogy in that sense. They're just, apparently he was really interested in this story. And ladies, we're going to go in there. And he just kept coming back to it. As you read,
Different versions of it?
no, it's different times. They're all from different time periods in his life. I want you to ask yourself, what has Oedipus done wrong? Did he do it knowingly or willingly, and could it have been avoided? And just because it is probably, is there anybody here who doesn't know the story of Oedipus? Okay, I'm going to tell, because everybody who came to this play would know. I'm going to give you the short and sweet Oedipus. Oedipus there was a prophecy at his birth that he would kill his father and marry his mother.
Oh, that guy. Oh, I hate.
And so they put him out to die. They pierced they put that place behind your ankle that they put a thong, they pierced a hole and put a thong so he couldn't crawl away. But as always happens, a shepherd found him and took him to the neighboring Corinth, I think it's Corinth, and they raised him. He thought he was their child. And he heard someone talking about the fact one day that he wasn't their child, and he went to the oracle, and the oracle did not tell him anything helpful. It just told him, you're going to kill your father and marry your mother. So, of course, in panic, he leaves Corinth because he thinks that's his dad and his mom. On the way, he ends up meeting a guy at Crossroads and killing him. It's the king of Thebes. It's his dad. And he shows up outside of Thebes, and Thebes at that point was being besieged by a monster called the Sphinx. And the Sphinx is like a lion bird mashup. Yeah. And she asked people questions. And if you didn't answer the question, she ate you. All right. And so she asked Oedipus, what is it that travels on has four legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? And the famous answer is man. Man crawls 4 legs when he's a baby, walks on 2 legs when he's a man, and in old age he leans on a stick, 3 legs. So the Sphinx, in utter horror at being bested, flings herself over a cliff and dies. Okay. So he shows up in Thebes and is like, yay, he saved us. Maybe you would like to marry the queen and be our new king. It's his mom. And he does not know, Jocasta. And they have 4 children.
Ew, gosh, that's even gross.
All right. And the play that you're going to read opens when there is a plague plaguing Thebes because the murderer of their former king Laius has not been found. And Oedipus sets himself to pull out all the stops for an investigation. Why they haven't done it before, I don't know. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Who killed him? And then watch the plot unfold.
The fact that he married his mom, it's super weird that they had kids.
I still remember my brother went after school, and he was just like,
All right.
it was,
See you guys in January.